OK, so among the many things, we talked a lot about Labour conference, haven't we? Among the many things coming out are plans to cut the number of women in jail by 2/3. There we go, there's the headline in the Times. What do you think of this, Christo?
OK, I'm normally against this sort of thing, but actually I think that if it's targeted to certain women who don't commit violent crimes, there's a lot of statistics to say that the female prison population, as opposed to the male prison population, there are a lot more vulnerable people that commit crimes among the female population, and that also a lot of women end up in prison as a result of men. And that's statistically accurate. So if they're not violent, and if it is done with the right intent, I'm not as against this as some of the other sort of scattergun approach we've seen with people being released. My worry is that this government doesn't seem to have much competence when it comes to things like that so far, so let's see.
Oh, yes, because we saw people, including the man with the tattoos all over his face, rearrested immediately. He was released.
Was he the one picked up in the Lamborghini, or was that a different one?
No, the Lamborghini was different, as was the Prosecco. This is the Justice Secretary Shabana Mahmood explaining it at the party conference.
There will always be women imprisoned for the protection of the public. That will never change. But we imprison women on minor charges to a far greater degree than men. I am today announcing that this government will launch a new body, the Women's Justice Board. Its goal will be clear: to reduce the number of women going into prison, with the ultimate ambition of having fewer women's prisons.
I don't get. I mean, I understand the thought, but that's what judges are for. You don't need somebody to be second-guessing judges, do you?
And you don't need someone to be second-guessing judges, but they are going to take their lead from the government. And when you're looking at the female prison population, and you see that about 80% of women who are in prison are there for non-violent crimes, around 60% of those are mothers, and many of them are the sole or primary carer for their children. A lot of people will think, what do you expect these kids that are going to grow up without
this
parents?
thing of non-violent crimes, as if there isn't a victim. If you defraud an old lady out of her life savings, that's a non-violent crime. It's worse for her than probably punching her. You've ended her life with that. So this thing of non-violent crimes aren't custodial. I don't understand that. I'm sorry, but burglary is a non-violent crime. It destroys people's lives.
I agree, but I think that as a society, we have decided that we do not punish our criminals by torturing them, and that we want to rehabilitate people, because it is simply not a good enough solution to say that we're going to be putting more and more people in prison indefinitely. There is no space for that, and frankly, there is no social appetite for that anymore. There is a reason why there is no death penalty.
I respectfully disagree. I think there is an appetite for people who have been convicted of serious crimes. That is a serious crime, what you've just outlined. It might not be violent. I hate the term low-level crime as well, because that's quite irritating.
Well, by the time you're in prison, you're a repeat offender.
Exactly. And so but I think that all this, if this is just going to be a little bit of nuance about what you've just referenced, Stella, about if this woman is a mother, what is going to be the wider societal impact of someone who has committed I'll put a pound in the box myself now, low-level crime. If there's a wider societal impact on that, like i.e. the children needing to be put into care, is it the best way forward? And I think that that's a conversation at least that should be had.
The recent case of Stacey Vint. Now that we've probably got some pictures of her. She's the woman who ran towards the police on a riot day with a wheelie bin that was smoking. As she arrived with the police, she fell flat on her face. Jailed.
Yeah.
Pretty serious, actually.
Yeah, I think that
Stacey Vint.
Some of the Stacey Bind, it sounded a bit like that.
Well,
I think some of the crimes about some of the sentences around the riots, although there needed to be a
there was some strange. I mean,
strong response.
Yeah, I don't know. There was some strange stuff going on. Okay.